Good evening and welcome to the April 3rd meeting of the Glenville Town Board. Please rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance. Just join me in prayer. Dear Lord, we're meeting tonight to conduct matters of business. Guide our hearts and our minds in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. And we thank you for being our source of guidance today. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call the roll.
Councilman Pepperoni?
Here.
Councilman Aragosa?
Here.
Councilman Zabrowski?
Here.
Councilwoman Rosbowski? Here. Supervisor Hexley?
Here. Thank you all for being here. Busy night tonight. Looks like we have a big contingent from the high school. Welcome. All from Scotia Glenville?
Yes.
Excellent. We do have a few changes on the agenda. First of all, after privilege of the floor, we'll be adding a update from Kimberly Sapia from GE Solar on the solar project update and some changes that might be occurring to the site plan. And then we'll move into the Outlaws Resident Association presentation after that. And then after item number 12, we'll be going to an executive session to talk about two items. One is a contract negotiation, and the other is, actually they're both contract negotiations. Two items on that. We don't anticipate any further business after that item, so you're free to stay here if you like. We'll go in the other room, but we don't anticipate any public business after that, so it's up to you if you like to stay or not. So those are the changes to the agenda. We'll go on to item number 4, Town Council reports. I'll start on my left with Councilman Leathers.
Just one thing, Mr. Supervisor, myself and Councilman Aragosa attended the Cover the Cruiser event this morning, this afternoon over at Viaport, former Square Mall. Glenville Police Department, as well as pretty much every other police department serving the County of Schenectady participated. This was done in conjunction with Sexual Assault Awareness Month, which is the month of April. And today is actually Start by Believing Day. The whole point of the Cover the Cruiser event is you go, you sign a pledge indicating that you will believe survivors of sexual violence and sexual assault, and then you take your pledge, a piece of paper, and you come to Cover the Cruiser. We got a pretty good turnout for Glenville. You got to pick which cruiser you wanted to cover. So it was an important event, so it's an important issue. The event was to kind of raise awareness for the importance of this issue, and I was happy to attend. And that's all I have to report.
Thank you. Councilman Rosbowski.
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, I was honored to be there for Officer Tracy Nethaway's last call out of service last week in the afternoon, it was Thursday. Tracy served our town for 20 years as a police officer, 24 total years as a police officer, transferred here to our town 20 years ago. I've known Tracy for a long time. When I was in the fire department, we would often see each other on scenes. I always found her to be very professional. Always willing to help the residents. I was especially impressed with her last year when we were at the senior center for their senior summit. Her specialty was elders and elder abuse and scams and educating our senior population on how to stay safe in their homes and how to see through a scam, the different things that were going on there. She was very proactive about that, and I just wanted to take a moment to publicly congratulate her on her retirement. And I wish her well. She definitely left a void in some respects. So just publicly would like to congratulate her and thank her for her service.
Thank you. Councilman Pippolini.
I have no report this evening.
Councilman Aragosa.
Two, three things. Talked to Tommy from the highway. They're working on repairs on lawns at the moment, and if anybody has any issues with that, they should make sure they contact them, because they do go around looking for them, but sometimes they miss people. They're getting ready to start their paving season, which this year they'll be working in the Woodhaven neighborhood, and their bulk pickup starts in 2 weeks.
Yes. In Zone 1.
In Zone 1, right. So be aware of where you are. The flyers are up here, they're on Facebook, they're on the town hall page or town page, so look for that. I attended the Outlaws meeting along with Supervisor Ketzley, Supervisor Ketzley and myself were there on, I believe it was last Thursday, and it was a nice event. I learned a lot about the town or the hamlet of Outlaws, and I was glad that I was welcomed there and was able to come over and hear what you had to say. I just want to point out that I am wearing a suit and tie tonight, just in case people there would know what that was. Next, I did attend the event with Mike and today at Viaport, which was a very nice event. One last thing to talk about, my daughter is also a participation in government student, and we were here last night for town court. I have to say that for me, it seemed like it was a busy place, but I have to say Paul and, I just lost her. Gretchen do a great job of keeping order and moving things along, and I'm very impressed with the way they do things. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Of course, I reserved my comments till supervisor's comments, but I must say you look very dapper. Clean up well. On to item number 5, privilege of the floor. We have 3 people signed up. If anyone would like to speak after those 3 people, just raise your hand. We'll invite you to the podium to address the board. But we'll start with Daniel Trask, who's the first person signed up.
Good evening. Basically, in conjunction with the consortium or workshop that's going on in Schenectady regarding flooding, I went to the meeting Monday night that they had. Basically, it has to do with 2,000 feet of frontage in the stockade area, and all the funding and everything else like that is going towards that. So nobody else is involved in that plan. There is a $500,000 grant that DEC has been given to do a complete survey of the Mohawk area from Schenectady on down to, I believe, Lot 7. That's what I'm interested in because I'm trying to find out how flooding is going to affect. There are very few of us that it's going to affect. 3 streets and Outlaws. Just trying to find out, one, how do we get a hold of or interact with DEC, and who from the town should be our contact is what I'm looking for.
So I'll have to ask staff that. That's something probably through the planning department. Probably, so now we're in a little bit of transition, so probably Mike Burns at this particular juncture. But maybe that's something we can talk about offline. If you want to contact me or I can contact you, I'll figure out who it is that you should be working with.
Okay. Very good.
We have flood management folks and whatever wears different hats. There's one, maybe Tom Capola, he's our MS4 person. So I just have to find that out and we can talk.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person is Larry Andrus.
No, I got nothing to say.
Okay. Next person is Karen Dapes.
Oh, I said, I think it's fine.
Hi, my name is Karen Dake, and I'm the owner of Happy Rehab, used to be the Maritime Center. And I just wanted to take a minute to ask, or to bring to the attention of the board, the fact that the Hamlet of Outlaws map still has not been amended to include my facility and my property at the end. So as of this afternoon, comprehensive plan still cuts us off the end. And interestingly, at the end of the comprehensive plan, it refers to the October 4th meeting where these things were changed, that the map was to be altered on October, and this was 2017? 2017, October 4th. October 18th, there was another meeting, more talk, and Jessica actually asked if the amendments were going to be included. She wanted to verify that B, C, and D in the summary of edits were going to happen. I don't think they're really in there, but most important to me as we do the Hamlet plan is that I get to be a part of Outlaws, and it's been a long time. And this board did say that that was going to be changed, regardless of the snafu in the software that Jim Martin mentioned. So I'm hoping that people will turn their attention to that and see if that gets changed.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard tonight? Yes, go back to you for the.
Separate.
This is, okay.
Are we still giving name and address and stuff like that, or is that?
Yes.
All right. Bud Watson, Reese Watson, 5 Mohawk Avenue, Mount Pleasant, New York. This is not what I'm asking for, but Mike, you look very nice, and I'm very proud of you. I know this is a big step. Continue to wish you luck in your career. Doing a great job. In regards to first of all, Karen, thank you very much for that support. But also, too, in light of the recent events with the floodplain talk over in Schenectady County, one of the things I asked the board to think about in the future is the fact that as much as Schenectady County, they talked about maybe building a wall, a retaining wall to keep that out of the stockade, that water has to go somewhere. 9 times out of 10, it usually goes to the other side of the river or lower areas. That is outflows. So I know it seems to be an outflows theme tonight. So please, for on record, please take that into consideration in any of the conversations that happens with the engineers and whatnot. Where is that water going to go? More than likely, it's going to affect us over on the other side. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard tonight? Going once, going twice, seeing none, we'll be closed. We'll move on to a presentation from Kimberly Sapia from GE Solar regarding the solar project update.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So I've been here a couple times here to talk about the solar consortium that is happening in the town of Glenville. So I'm here tonight to talk about an amendment to our application. We specifically for the Glenville landfill site at 156 Margate Road to include the battery storage unit attached to the solar array. So when we originally came here for an application, we came with the Justice Solar application, and we found out that there's been a new incentive released with NYSERDA for storage specifically. And by adding the system, we're going to be adding thousands of dollars in savings to the consortium. So it's really, from a logistical standpoint, it's very simple. Right next to our concrete pad for our transformer, we're going to have another concrete pad with the battery storage inverter. And that's it. And it just continues to add value to everybody. So I'm just here tonight to get it noted in the minutes that we want to update our application to include storage to our solar project.
So would that be a amendment to the planning board site plan, or?
Yeah, I think you have to amend the site plan because that's, could have a potential environmental impact.
Yep.
Amend the EAF to make that as well.
Yep.
But that doesn't really slow it down, it's going to process, is it too much?
I don't know what the board's going to do, but I wouldn't imagine that that's
Huge change. So I guess for tonight, we've got in the minutes that this is your desire, and we'll have to make sure that you're in touch with staff on an amended site plan as soon as possible.
Correct. Sounds great. Thank you very much.
Just real quick,
Yes.
anyone have questions for Kimberly before she goes on the project? It's moving along.
It is
That's
moving
the
along.
Good news.
You should be hearing from us very shortly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is item 6, the Outlaws Residents Association presentation. Bud is going to be Bud and Gray, who is supposed to.
Be careful.
No, yeah. I've never seen it this long before. It's usually throws you off a little bit. Again, it looks great. It's not the fact that it's even the suit. It's how you present the suit. It's the tie.
How bad did
It's a
you
present. I didn't even think, I didn't think it was something that was taken into consideration. And the reason why that happened is because you came to our meeting. And I thank you very much, Supervisor, and Councilman, for coming and showing your support and, the attention to outlaws that we so rightfully deserve for the wonderful people that we have there. And people need to see how special that place actually is, not just the parade, but everything that we do there. So thank you again for your support, for coming. Much appreciated.
Thank you for the cups.
Am I allowed to say that? Okay, so the cups are okay. So if everybody can put their mugs, we can get a shot of that over there. Kids. We have our Outlaws mugs that we have every 4th of July, as well as our T-shirts that, I don't know if everybody bought them, but that's okay.
I tried.
That's something you
You didn't
can't
have a
give
size.
those out. Those have to be purchased. So we'll see you on 4th of July for the next round. Okay, Mike? All right, there we go. All right. So let's get going here. So, Mr. Supervisor and members of the board, we want to thank you for this opportunity to present the Outlaws Hamlet Plan for formal consideration by the board. As you know, the residents of Outlaws have completed surveys, drafted a plan similar to the comprehensive plans for municipalities throughout New York State. We've also attended meetings to discuss the plan. Last Thursday evening, the residents of Outlaws formally and unanimously adopted the Outlaws Hamlet Plan as a statement of our goals and our aspirations for development and improvement of our community. I'd like to read the resolution to you that was unanimously adopted by Outlaws residents last Thursday. And I also would like to submit a copy. Is that given to
the
Ms. Nielsen? The resolution reads as this. The resolution adopting the Outlaws Hamlet Plan was moved by Gray Watkins and was seconded by Bob Winchester. Whereas the Outlaws Residents Association, also known as the ARA, is comprised of citizens with a primary purpose of serving the interests of the residents of Outlaws, and whereas the ARA, in fulfillment of this purpose, decided to develop a plan for the future of Outlaws, which would be focused on a defined sub-area of the town of Glenville, known as the Hamlet of Outlaws. And whereas the ARA developed, distributed, tabulated a written survey questionnaire as a means to understand the sentiments of the residents in articulating the vision for the future of the Hamlet area. And whereas resident volunteers of the ARA used the information from the survey responses, drafted a written plan to set forth a future vision for the Hamlet of Outlaws. And whereas the resident volunteers of the ARA have drafted and presented a written plan to the membership of the ARA, and said plan set forth initiatives for improvement of the Hamlet of Outlaws. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the ARA Board of Directors adopts the 2019 Outlaws Hamlet Plan as the official plan for the Hamlet area as defined in the plan. Be it further resolved that the Outlaws residents hereby authorize the ARA President and the associated ARA Directors and members to formally present the plan to the Town of Glenville Town Board, to the Schenectady County Legislature, to the New York State Assembly and the New York State Senate, and such other governing bodies as they may deem appropriate to explain the plan's development process. The content of the plan and to formally request that the plan be appended to the Town of Glenville Comprehensive Plan and/or adopted by the Town Board and other bodies as the Master Plan for Zoning, future development, and public improvements within the Hamlet of Outlaws. You make it sound so easy when you do it up there, when you read them off. I don't know how you do it so well. Thank you. So with that being said, I'd like to present the copy. As President of the ARA, I hereby request that the Town of Glenville Board accept the Hamlet Plan as the expression of the will of the residents of Outlaws and to act to incorporate it into the Glenville Comprehensive Plan so that it will become the basis for any future zoning in the Hamlet of Outlaws. If this is not considered practicable by the board, then I ask that the Outlaws Hamlet Plan be formally recognized as a master plan for the future development within the Hamlet, as defined in the Hamlet Plan, and that it be considered by all town agencies in future decision-making that affects the Hamlet and/or the residents of Outlaws. Just a few more seconds here with this. The following is a list of specific action items that the Outlaws residents feel will improve our community. 1, welcome to Outlaws street signs, paid for by the residents. Lighted radar speed signs, paid for by the residents. Crosswalks at various locations in the Hamlet. Sidewalks or a widened shoulder along Outlaws Ave. shielding the National Grid fencing and infrastructure along Snyder Lane / 2nd Street. The LED down lighting on Alplaus Ave and Bruce Drive. Preservation of trees on Alplaus Ave. Improved drainage on roads in the hamlet. Number 9, response to animal control issues when they arise. And lastly, facilitate discussion with owners of developable property in the hamlet. So if anyone has any questions, we would like to go into the county next. So if you have any questions for us with that, but I'll give you a few seconds with Ray Watkins just to give you a little bit broader of what we've done.
Thank you, Bud.
I think what Bud said says it all, but I'm happy to try to answer any questions if you have some, or if you need any further information from us. I don't know if the board intends to take a vote tonight, or we'll do that another time.
No, we'll go with them, yeah. No, I know, we know we're working on a variety of these on the list already, so those are things that we'll continue to work on. I think you and I just had a conversation on one of them.
So when it is going to be a formal action item for the board, would you let us know so we can be here for the adoption of this? To either again incorporate it in the comprehensive plan, I understand the difficulties with that, or to at least give it a formal master plan status. Does that require formal action by the board?
I don't know if any of those are possible.
As an amendment to the comprehensive plan, it really hasn't come about in a way that's authorized by 272A of the town law. And in any event, even if the town had directed an outside group to prepare the amendment to the comprehensive plan, that then the town board would have 90 days to consider what was submitted. So I think, and the town board would have to hold its own.
Right.
So well, there's a lot for the town board to do. First, everybody on the board would have to review what's been submitted.
Right. I totally understand. So we were all a little surprised Thursday morning after Wednesday evening 2 weeks ago, because we thought we had led ourselves and felt that we had been a little bit led to believe that it would be appended to the comprehensive plan, and then the next morning we found out that was probably not going to happen. So it is possible to do that within 272A, as I understand it, under the statute. But I understand that requires public notice and public hearings, and just went through that for the comprehensive plan for a long time, and a lot of effort on behalf of the town board and other employees within the town. But if that is not, as Bud said, practicable for legal and or other reasons, then we would still hope and expect that the board would, or which agency is it within the town, I guess I'm asking, that would give it master plan status?
Well, and it's not for me to decide how the board is going to.
But it would be the town board as opposed to the planning board or something?
Right.
That's what I'm asking. So all I'm asking is, when a final decision is made on that, it will require formal town board action. We would just like to be notified so that we can be here when the evening is considered.
If it gets that far, yes,
Yeah.
but we'll be in contact
We'll
and
be
communication.
talking.
I don't want to leave you with any misimpression. We do not know if that's the path the board's going to go, just so we're all clear on that. I want you to leave thinking one thing. We will be in communication, let the board digest the plan, let the board talk among itself, and there'll be a discussion and there'll be a determination. That determination is not being determined tonight, however. So I just wanted to be clear. I don't want you to leave with any false pretense.
If I could just inquire, when we're using the term master plan, is that a term that you're pulling from the Glenville Town Code, or is that, are you essentially saying, asking for the town to just kind of accept the plan as it is, and for the town to kind of have it on file for future consideration, so to
Yeah,
speak?
that's a good question, Mike. I haven't researched that specifically, but other areas of the town have been studied, and with a great deal of effort as we have put into the Hamlet plan. And Freeman's Bridge Road area was given master plan status for
Well,
consideration.
there's a distinction here. Let's not mix apples and oranges. That was sanctioned, bought, paid for by the town,
Right,
by professionals,
right.
engineering firms, and planning, and all this type of stuff. That's very different than what we're talking about. So I just want to be clear that we're not talking apples and apples. The two of you aren't saying the same thing.
But, yeah, I just wanted to know if that's actually illegal, if that's a legally defined term, if that's just something that's come about through prior, prior things that have occurred.
Master time.
Yeah.
I think all this is in the weeds, and I think this is probably something that we want to talk about when we get together and talk, as we often do.
Sure, yeah, absolutely, and obviously we want to continue the dialogue.
Yes.
But for the record, we are absolutely dead serious and very interested in having the Hamlet plan made into a formal legal document within the town plan. And we totally get it, that development down in the industrial park and marina would be a PDD, and therefore you can ignore the zoning that is written pursuant to the comprehensive plan, and you could ignore whatever we put in the Hamlet plan, even if it is given master plan status. But nonetheless, that would elevate it beyond just a 200-hour exercise on the part of the Elmwood residents. That's what we're looking for.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job. Thank you very much.
If I may, just for a moment?
Sure.
I know you gotta go. I know. First of all, I know that the high school kid's back there, Mr. Fide, and we don't want to make sure he gets upset or anything like that. You guys don't want him coming late, because we want to keep you for all day. Let me just say this in wrapping up. The process, as much as it's been read off by me, I don't like reading stuff, I like talking. Let me just wrap it up like in this way. We had a lot of stakeholders in this, not only the community of Altos. Supervisor Kessler, you were involved in this process. Jim Martin, who is the architect of the comprehensive plan, was one of our guiding people to this. So this is not something that was just done haphazardly or because we were upset about something. This stuff takes over and addresses stuff that's been imposing on Altos for over 30 years. Okay? So when we bring this to the table here and we're asking for these things, we're not asking for these things just to ask. This is something that is part of Altos. Altos, I know, it's not really, population-wise, we may not be the largest, but when you drive through Altos, you feel it. When you walk through Altos, you understand it. And when you come to events and you see things and you look around here tonight, you know that Altos is a great place, and it's a great part of Glenville. There's never been a Hamlet plan. This is something that's brand new. It's brand new territory for everyone. So when you go through these conversations, please understand that everything you're doing is the first of its kind. That's pretty cool. And that's just, it's empowering. So please, understand, we're gonna have some of these discussions, we're gonna be asking for things, and some of the things you may not be able to give to us, or maybe some of the things you might be able to. But go in with an open mind, not looking at it black and white. Doing something that's different, something that's new, especially speed signs. I know some people don't like speed signs. Okay, but like I said before, 60%. If we stop 60% out of the 100%, that's more than half people that slow down for us. We're not going to get everybody. It's a different way of thinking. Think about the glass being half full, not always half empty. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have a point of order.
Go ahead.
Will this discussion among the town board be in an open meeting?
Yes. All discussions of the town board are open meeting.
And so that when the Hamlet plan is discussed, we would very much like to be here to hear that discussion on the town board.
Yes.
Answer any questions.
That is always, it'll be on the agenda, it'll be posted, it's a public meeting, but we are certainly in communication with Bud and Gray and others often. I want to thank you for your presentation, for all your hard work on it. It's a great plan. I don't agree with everything in it. I'm not sure everybody here agrees with everything in it, and I think that's, I like to hear what you said, Bud, open mind. When we have plans presented to us, and one of the differences when we go through a master planning process, we have an opportunity to say, this is not something that we'll accept, this is. It may not be wholesale, and you just have to have an open mind to that, and I hope you do. We've done a lot of work on that comprehensive plan, a lot of work, almost 3 years, Gina was on board with it, Jim Martin was on the board, John was on the board. We went into All Plaza neighborhood, I think 3 times, met in your neighborhood 3 times with each of you. We had meetings here in this room, we had public hearings, we had surveys, we had input. We went all over the town. We went to West Glenville 3 times, went to Scotia 2 times. Significant public input. When people want a comprehensive plan changed that quickly after it was just adopted, after all that work, the board ought to take a pause and say, wait a minute, is this really appropriate? So it's going to be a very serious discussion, I think, if this makes sense for the board to move forward. There are things, as I pointed out, that contradict the current comprehensive plan in the All Plaza plan. You cannot adopt, in my mind, contradicting pieces of information for future boards to try to figure out what it is we meant. We have to reconcile that. We'll have to fix that if we even want to consider that. That means there'll be amendments to the All Plaza plan so that they fit the current adopted master plan. Otherwise, we'd have to take up the master plan all over again, which is not something that makes any sense within 5 to 7 years of when a master plan is actually adopted. So these are all things we have to consider. And I'm just saying this tonight because we're all friends, and I don't want anyone to go away again thinking something differently than what was expressed. And so I'm being crystal clear, I think, as possible tonight. We got work ahead of us if we're going to do this. And we have to be open to each other's thoughts. But otherwise, a lot of hard work, very well done. Thank you very much for all that hard work. On to some other items. We've had a busy week. This past week, we invited the Elfin Club from GE to come in and take out 62 of our old computers. What they did with those, and 20 monitors. They took the hard drives out, gave the hard drives back to us, so they're secure. And they're going to take those 62 old computers, refurbish them, and then donate them to people that need them, organizations, nonprofits, things like this. So we're able to recycle our electronics. It was a good test run. If it, I think we're going to try to open up to the residents maybe at some point, but this was just for us because we had 62 computers sitting around town hall collecting dust. So that's good news. Update on our positions. We have obviously a couple of positions open, as you've all heard. We've already had 7 applications come in for our community development position, over 20 for the DCO. I don't know if you've heard, but our DCO has given us their 30-day notice and she'll be leaving. She has another job and just the conflict is a little bit too much there right now, so that's been posted. The water sewer worker is still open, but interviews have happened. Just, I guess, the person I went to offer the job to has already taken another job. And the part-time laborer is hired as well, or at least noticed that they'll be hired. On May 4th, we're holding a Love Your Parks Day here in the town of Glenville. We have a bunch of different projects throughout the town of Glenville. Gina is a project leader in the Anderson Dog Park. He'll be doing things like this. I'll be working in the Melwick Park with cleaning up the riverfront litter. Donna Jagan from YMCA will be leading a team in Indian Meadows where we'll be painting a pavilion. And Jim Martin will be leading a team at Yates Mansion on sprucing up the work around Yates Mansion. If anyone's interested in volunteering for I Love My Park Day here in Glenville, May 4th, the easiest thing is you can contact Vicki Hillis. And her email is on our website, or you could call Town Hall or go on our Facebook or our website. The flyers are posted. But if we need volunteers, I think it would be a great day for the parks. Today, just as I let you know, $200,000 went out the door in payouts for retired employees. That's a little bit more than what we had budgeted, so we did have to look to the fund balance to fill that gap, and it's a lot of money. We had a lot of retirements, obviously, this year, more than we anticipated, but now we're starting with these new positions, and that's why you're seeing so many new positions being advertised. I had an opportunity to go to the YMCA breakfast today and honor the many students from 9 different districts being honored for their excellence and their work in the community. And the educators in those 9 districts were also honored. And then at the end, they picked one from the students and one from the educator to be the educator and the student of the year. And I'm proud to say, both of those awards went to Glenville districts. Burn Hills, who was a Glenville student, who received Student of the Year. And the Educator of the Year was Scotia Glenville's own Rich Wiesen. So that's, I think, great that they both come from Glenville. Amsterdam, all the other districts were represented, but everyone in Glenville won, so that's great. I want to go over just real quick the state budget, because it did pass, and people are calling it the big ugly for a reason. There are some local government implications, none of them good. The property tax cap is now permanent. That's fine. We've always stayed under the tax cap. We will always stay under the tax cap. I'm committed to that. But there are no mandate reliefs associated with the tax cap. We know what's driving our budgets. They're mandates. Most of it is mandates from the state of New York. And there's no mandate relief, but we'll continue to have to live under the tax cap. They also didn't fix all the problems with tax cap. They call it a 2% tax cap. That's a misnomer. It's really an inflation, whatever is less than 2%, so it's never really more than 2%, unless you do a factor of all your growth and different allocations. It's a complex factor, but typically I think this year we're probably trending to about a 1% by the time we get to the budget potentially, because inflation has either leveled off or dipped a little bit. So that being a permanent cap is a challenge for municipalities going further. Aid to the municipalities, we talked a lot about this, AIM. Is it restored or isn't it restored? The governor did not restore, and nor did the legislature restore AIM into the state budget. The governor wrote into the adopted bill, budget bill, that if a town or village receives a complete elimination of state AIM, the county in which that town or village is located will be required to restore that funding out of, here's the kicker, the county sales tax revenue. And the state comptroller will be responsible for assuring the distribution of such amounts on behalf of the county to the town and village. Now, the problem I believe, and I'm not the lawyer in the room, but I don't believe there's a mechanism in the law that allows for this to happen. I don't think the state comptroller can just come into the counties and take their money and say, we're giving them to the town now. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think that doesn't work that way. So the budget bill says that, but there's no mechanism in law for that. So there's a lot of uncertainty around AIM right now. Unless the legislature and the governor change the law, I don't see how the comptroller is going to be able to just siphon off money from the counties and give it to the towns and villages. So I don't think AIM is restored. Also unclear is AIM going forward. This is only one single standard, one annual budget. What happens next year? It's not an ongoing thing. So AIM is certainly still, I think, very much at risk. Lastly, there's a cap on the annual growth of STAR in this budget. It's not good news for folks who get the STAR and need the STAR, but there'll be a freeze on the growth of the basic and the enhanced STAR for homeowners who receive the STAR beginning in the 2019-2020 school year. Homeowners who receive the credit will continue to see an increase of not more than 2% annually in the credit. So currently, people either get the STAR on their bill, so it's automatically reduced off your tax bill. New homeowners recently don't have that option. They have to get a credit sent back to them after they pay it. Those people will continue to get a 2% annual. The people who have it on their bill right now will be frozen, and there will be no growth in that STAR going forward. This is a clear attempt by the governor to shift everybody into the tax credit program. He doesn't want anybody in the reduction program, he wants it in the tax credit program. So if you want to continue to receive your 2% growth, up to 2% in your STAR exemption, you're going to have to go to the check as opposed to it just being taken off your bill. And I don't think that's really good news because you have to front the money first and then you have to hope to get it back. Or you will get it back. I'm not sure there's a tax implication on that check.
It should be tax neutral.
That one. Not the other one. Not the one that you get the credit for staying under the cap. You do get taxed on that one. Last thing I just want to clear up, we had an opportunity to go down and listen to the village presentation on their budget. Obviously, there was a lot of talk, there's been a lot of chatter in the community, a lot of chatter on Facebook, and I want to take this opportunity just to clarify some things, because there's a lot of people confused about what they pay and who they pay and how they pay it. The village tax bill is, when you look at a house assessed for $130,000, and you look at the property tax on that, it breaks out that 51% of that tax you're paying annually is school tax. 28% is village tax. Almost 18% is county tax. And the town is only about 2% of the entire tax bill. Now, most people think because they pay their county property tax bill to the town that we're getting that full amount. People are very confused about why they pay town tax if they live in the village. And that's clear. They live in a town and they live in the village. The village is inside the town. There's a lot of people asking why don't town residents pay village taxes? Clearly, the village is not, up here, we're not village residents. Only if you live in the town, in the village, would you be a town and village resident. But how the tax bill breaks out is the school tax ends up being almost $3,000 on that $130,000 home. The village tax is $1,656. The county tax is about $1,000. And the town tax is only $150. Entire year, $150. What's driving Scotia's tax increase is not the town of Glenville, as people are trying to say. Obviously not. The increase that the village is going to have on their residents is more than half of our entire annual bill onto those residents. So it's not the town of Glenville. We're only $150 of that bill. Next question I got was, well, why am I paying you anything? You don't provide me any services. Unfortunately, we do provide you services. The services we provide you, assessor. We do all the assessment for the Village of Scotia. Receiver. We do the receiving for the property tax bills. Dog control officer is provided by the town of Glenville. And the big one, which is worth more than $150, frankly, dispatch services provided by the town of Glenville. So there's a lot of services that come out of the town of Glenville that people may not see every day, but for $150 on an average home, it's a pretty good bargain. And parks. Right, the entire park system. That's a pretty good bargain. We've kept our property tax low, we stayed under the tax cap. Whatever's going on in other municipalities is going on in other municipalities, but it has nothing to do with the town of Glenville. And we just need to be clear about that. Any questions or comments? Thank you. So back to the agenda. Item number 8, resolution scheduling a public hearing for Wednesday, April 17th, to hear all people interested in vehicle and traffic chapter. Do I have a motion?
I'll move
Do I have
that.
a second?
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Supervisor, I'm introducing a local law to amend Chapter 255 of the Vehicle and Traffic Code of the Town of Glenville. A duly scheduled public hearing must be held in order to amend the existing code by local law. Therefore, let it be resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Glenville will meet at the Glenville Municipal Center here at 18 Glenridge Road, Glenville, New York, on Wednesday, April 17, 2019 at 7 p.m., or as soon thereafter as possible, at which time it will hear all persons interested in the proposed local law to amend Chapter 255 of the Vehicle and Traffic Law Chapter of the Code of the Town of Glenville. And it be resolved that the town clerk be and she is hereby authorized and directed to prepare the proper public notice of said hearing in accordance with the law as follows. This is to introduce stop signs and the following intersections in the town of Glenville. The street, Charles Street, stop sign on Division Street at the north entrance. Saratoga Drive, stop sign on Eltridge Place on the southbound. Saratoga Drive, Slater Drive on the south entrance, Ralmar Drive, stop sign on Jane Drive at the east entrance, and Jane Drive, stop sign on Saratoga Drive at the north entrance.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Pittavani?
Yes.
Councilman Aragosa?
Yes.
Councilman Godlewski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bruce-Bowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Castles?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 9, appointing Ann Pelletier to a position part-time. Do I have a motion?
So
Do I have a second?
A second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Mr. Supervisor, this resolution is proposing a vacant part-time typist position in the Glenville Police Department be filled by Ann Pelletier. Ann served in various clerical positions with the town of Glenville, including over 10 years with the police department prior to her retirement on March 15th of 2019. She has expressed interest in part-time employment with the town. Chief of Police is familiar with her work and has recommended that she be appointed to the vacant part-time position. There is existing in the current 2019 budget appropriations to hire part-time typists for the Glenville Police Department. So, should this resolution pass, Ann Pelletier of 17th Clifford Drive in Glenville, New York, would be appointed to the position of typist part-time effective March 25th, 2019, starting at a rate of $14.94 per hour, and benefits as determined by the agreement between the town and CSEA Town Hall Employees Unit. I would add that Ann, I'm pleased to see that Ann is coming back in a part-time capacity. She has quite a bit of institutional knowledge about how things work down there, and I'm sure that we'll have a smooth transition because I know that Eric Potts moved into the old position, so there's some movement kind of back and forth. So I'm pleased to see that that she's coming back.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Pittavani?
Yes.
Councilman Aragosa?
Yes.
Councilman Godlewski?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bruce-Bowski?
Yes.
Supervisor Castles?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 10, authorizing a tax service settlement with Eli Backer Trust. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Mr. Supervisor, this is a tax certiorari settlement regarding tax parcel located at 307-309 Saratoga Road in Glenville, New York. Just to confirm, this is the Subway and the Redemption Center?
Yeah.
Okay. So the Subway and the Redemption Center out on 50, this would reduce the assessed value of the property. The property's been grieved going back in time to 2014, 15, 16, 17, and 18. This would result in a reduction of the assessed value of the property. It's actually the reduction varies based on the tax year, but it's something that the assessor, the town attorney, as well as I'm sure the judge and the opposing party have worked on and stipulated to at this point, and we're looking for our approval. And perhaps maybe in greater detail, if he wishes, Attorney Cuevas could explain some of the particulars.
Yeah, it is a case of some longstanding and both parties had professional appraisals done of the property in question, so that this is sort of a compromise between the amounts in those professional appraisals. And the difference in value, there was a change of use of that property during the term of that this action was pending. If you remember, the Pizza Hut tenant over there moved across the street, and there was a change of tenants, and there's some conditions at the property that had to be taken into consideration just this matter. So the assessor and myself, all concerned, believe this is a fair and equitable compromise.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Are we going to end up having to give them money back?
Yes.
We know the numbers or?
Right, there's the town portion, because the town part of the tax is not very large. It's, so the refund from the town is not really,
Basically 10%.
yeah, that's significant. But there will be refunds, and what we typically do here, and is incorporated in this agreement, is that once there's a final order from the court, the town would have 60 days to pay the refunds, and if they do that, there's no interest on refunds, and same for the other municipal involve the school district and,
And correct me if I'm wrong, but it's something we budget for. I mean, we take into consideration outstanding tax surcharges, and we're prepared to, we have a line that.
Fund balance.
Well, I think we're a little more prepared than that.
Yeah, and the school districts do as well, so
Yep.
they budget.
I mean, from our town, it's basically town tax for 1 year, let's say 1 year.
Just, I would say over 5 years, maybe $3,000.
In total.
3,000. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilman Capelani.
Yes.
Councilman Yaragosa.
Yes.
Councilman Gollosky.
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski.
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley.
Just want to explain my vote, because an attorney knows this, I'm very troubled by this, actually. I'm very appreciative of the work that the attorney did and the assessor. I think you worked very, very hard on this. You did a very good job getting the owner to where it is. But I'm troubled that we have one of the hottest commercial corridors in the county, if not the area. One of the hottest pieces of property is right across from Price Chopper. We just saw a large project happen next door to that. And counter to all logic, we're lowering the assessment of this wonderful piece of property that actually probably has a higher and better use. Now, I understand law does not allow us to consider the higher and better use. That's the problem. That, to me, is a big problem. We can only consider the condition that the owner has the property in, and that's not right. But, that said, I'm going to vote for this because I think it's on the advice of our counsel, and I respect very much his position. But I'm troubled that we're lowering the, and I don't think it's right, but it's probably in the sake of a settlement, something we should just go ahead and do. But I wanted to note that there's a lot of good use for that property. I vote yes. Resolution passes. Next, resolution 11, approving the town board minutes for March 20th. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Moved and second. Any discussion on that?
Mr. Supervisor, this particular resolution would approve the minutes for our March 20, our last town board meeting on March 20, 2019. They were prepared by Ms. Neal and her staff and distributed via email. We've had a chance to review them at this point, and I would thank Ms. Neal and her staff for that.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please vote.
Councilman Capelani.
Yes.
Councilman Yaragosa.
Yes.
Councilman Gollosky.
Yes.
Councilwoman Wozzachowski.
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley.
Yes, resolution passes. The next resolution, or actually, we're on to new business. We'll be going to executive session after new business. We'll be talking about 2 contract negotiations. We will not come out. I do not anticipate future business, so you're welcome to stay, but you're free to go after new business. Free to any time, actually. And we'll do new business with Councilman, go ahead.
Councilman Gollosky.
You're ready to go. I was going to talk over you.
It's just a small thing, and it actually came about through a resident stating it. Something I've noticed, something that I didn't want to necessarily make an issue out of, but on the town's website for the council people, for myself and for Councilman Aragosa, there isn't a link to our email. And I did have a resident ask about that, and they actually ended up looking up from my phone number through White Pages and contacted my mother, who turned out to be a very good assistant, and then relayed the message to me. But if we could fix that, just so the links to our email, that'd be
Just
great.
provide us your email that you want used.
Yeah, the town of Glenville email is fine. Yeah.
Anything else?
Nope, that's it. I'm sorry.
Councilman Wozzachowski?
I have nothing.
Councilman Capelani?
No new business.
Councilman Aragosa?
I have nothing.
Okay. Well, with that, we'll take a motion to go into executive session. Second?
Second.
Moving second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? On executive session.